Today, I'm teaching you the best weapons, the best relics, the best scrolls, and the best charms to use in the latest Ninjago update. And I'm going to be rating every single weapon, charm, relic, and scroll just by placing them into S tiers all the way down into D tiers. Let's start off with our weapons. We have both the nunchucks and the shurikens, which are both incredibly good right now in the game. The problem is that range style of weapons always seem to be better in this game than melee weapons. And because of that, we're going to throw the shurikens into the S tier and the nunchucks into the A tier. Although it is preference when it comes to play style, I do believe that shurikens overall are the better weapon. We have a lot to go over when it comes to the health charms because we have two brand new ones that give us new abilities with them. And because it's a little bit more reasonable, we're going to talk about our epic charms. The epic health charms gives you 290 health as well as 9 shield. When it comes to the regeneration charm, you could see that it only gets 8 shield and 250 health. The precision charm gives you 200 health and 8 shield, but it does increase your critical damage. The two new ones are the amplifier and the defiance totem. The amplifier will make your elemental powers build up more damage, whereas the defiance totem is going to prevent enemies and make you resist the elemental buildup that they are able to do. Both of those also give you 250 health as well as 9 total shield. Now let's grade these. I think that overall the health charm is by far the best. It's going to give you 290 health, which is the most out of the 5 that we have, as well as 9 shield, which is only going to help us. When it comes to the regeneration charm, the issue that I have with this is that it does give you less shield as well as less total health. So that will be placed into our B tier. When it comes to defiance, I do like this because when it comes to fighting enemy mobs, we're not going to take nearly as much damage or get frozen while fighting them. So that can go into our A tier. As far as getting a build-up or an increase, I'm going to throw that one into the C tier because I don't find it necessary. And in the D tier, we definitely don't need an increase for critical damage. That's definitely a waste as far as a charm goes, so I would recommend that nobody uses it. Before we talk about our relics and our scrolls, we need to first understand exactly what's going on in our Ninjago world. And that's that we're fighting enemies that we are able to counter them or do extra damage to them based on what type of enemy they are. So taking a look at our map here, there are designated areas that we could force a raid fight, and in that fight know exactly what type of enemy we're going against. So for example, we can fight against tier 5 level lightning enemies or tier 6 level earth enemies. We could also fight against tier 6 level ice enemies. And because of this, we're able to prepare ourselves using the counters to those type of enemies by creating the proper weapons with them. Now, if you're not understanding exactly what I mean by countering our enemies, you can open up your codex and start taking a look at some of the relics that are unlocked in here. We can notice that the Pyrokinesis relic does strong damage against fire, and that's because it does ice damage. So ice will counter fire enemies. Earth relics are strong against lightning. Lightning is strong against ice. So we can prepare for any type of enemy by knowing exactly what relics are going to work against that specific enemy type. So just to demonstrate why this is important to know is because when I see a fire enemy in front of me, I know to use the weapon that causes ice damage because you could see above the enemy, it does tell you that you're doing extra damage to them because I'm using ice weaponry. And just to make sure that I'm covering everything, even though you now know to take a look inside of your mastery class, using earth weapons against electric are going to do more damage. Using fire or electric against ice enemies is also going to do more damage. So keeping that in mind and having different type of weaponry is always a good thing. Now let's talk about actually creating the weapons. When you go into your ritual altar, what you can see is different versioned bamboo, kazu stone, steel, and dragon opal. All of these are very important because when you're actually creating the weapon, you're going to see that they give you different buffs to that weapon. For example, when you just use 2 of the bamboo, you're only going to receive 2 rune slots. If you swap over to the dragon opal, you will then get a 3rd rune slot. When you use the Kazu stone, it goes back to 2 and go back to the steel, and again, it stays at 2. It also matters what you place inside of your handle slot because you can put bamboo in the links and then inside of the handles put the dragon opal in order to give yourself a 3rd rune slot. But obviously, stacking your links and handles with the dragon opal will give you the most amount of rune slots available. And before we cover exactly what type of relics we want to use on our weapons and which scrolls to use, I want to talk about which runes we want to apply to our weapons. The top 2 that I recommend is going to be damage tier 3 as your 1 slot, and in your 2nd slot, I highly recommend using luck. The reason for that is because in order to get yourself some of the best materials or the best ingredients in the game, you're going to need a little bit of luck from the drops of the enemies. And if you're starting off early on, it is important to get yourself the epic ritual oil or the legendary ritual oil. If you're able to create a weapon that adds a 3rd rune, I highly recommend adding durability 3. And for the final rune, if you so choose, I would say zapping tier 3, as from what I have heard, it actually gives you the lightning effect on your enemies, even though you're not using a lightning type of weapon. Let's cover our relics here, because these are all extremely important. The way that I take a look at the relics is that anything that will have a secondary attack is going to be an S tier relic. So when it comes to using your power surge, I'm going to throw that into the S tier. When it comes to using the Tecto Tunnel Relic, I'm going to again throw that into the S tier. When it comes to the power, I don't think that this is something that anybody should be using. Having additional damage, again, is great, but isn't something that is necessary when you could do even more damage by applying more pressure on your enemies using a secondary attack. So when it comes to power, I'm throwing that into the D tier along with precision. Base level relics are still pretty good. But when it comes to using the lightning relic, I'm going to throw this into the B tier because it's not something that I think a lot of us should be using. When it comes to using base tiered relics, you're not going to get an additional boost out of them to do extra damage to enemies, and I think that that does put you at a disadvantage. So using something like the Ice Storm is clearly an S tier, especially considering the fact that you're going to be able to use that against the dragon, which makes it very overpowered. When it comes to using a regular Ice Storm, I'm going to throw that, or a regular Ice Relic, I'm going to throw this one into the A tier, simply for the fact that you will be using it against a dragon. Now again, I don't recommend using base relics, but that's better than nothing. The Geokinesis is really good, but the way that I'm starting to look at things now is anything ice related I think should be an S tier because they're overpowered against the biggest boss. So because of that, I'm going to put the Geokinesis into the A tier, and I'm going to move both of the previous ones down into the A tier. Now I'm doing this once again because inside of our S tier, it should be the most overpowered type of weaponry and charms and relics, and using them against the most powerful enemy in the game, I think is important. Now when it comes to using the Fire Relic, it does have a counter, but it doesn't have a secondary attack. This isn't the greatest of type of weapons or relics, so I'm just going to throw this into C tier because it's better to use this than using the Power Relic, but definitely worse than using a base level relic like Lightning, Earth, or Snow. The Electrokinesis is going to go into our A tier, the Chirokinesis will go into our A tier, where Earth will go into our B tier, and I think that kind of makes up as far as how our relics will go. Let's cover our 3 scrolls here from worst to best. By far the worst is going to be the Lightning Masteries, and that's because the Lightning will give you fast extra movement and attack speeds after defeating an enemy, which is something that really doesn't give us too much of a boost because it goes away after you take enemy damage. I know I said I was going from worst to best, but I believe that we have a 1A and 1B situation here, meaning that you can't go wrong. When it comes to using anything that is ice related, whether that's the weaponry or even the Spinjitzu Scroll, the reality is that the final boss of this update is a fire dragon. And because ice does best against fire, it makes it one of, if not the best type of elemental power in the game. But my favorite by far is going to be inside of our Earth Masteries, and that's because both of the relics are very overpowered, but the Spinjitzu Scroll is incredible. The way that this Spinjitzu Scroll is going to work is the passive is going to regenerate a shield if you go long enough without taking damage. Some of the other passives, as well as the epic scroll, is going to allow you to find shield as you do damage to enemies, which is only going to make your player stronger. Having more shield is going to prevent you from dying, and when it comes to fighting the dragon, even though we're not directly countering him with ice, we do have better health when going into that fight, which to me makes the Earth Scroll just that much better. Now, the beautiful thing about videos like this is that everybody's going to have a different opinion on why they like something differently than others, and I can't really argue it. Every one of us plays the game a little bit differently. These are just, in my opinion, what I believe are the best scrolls, weapons, and relics available in the game. And I can't wait to read the comment section and see what you guys believe are the best or what you guys believe are the worst. So drop down a comment below what you guys think of the tier list. I hope that you all enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, guys, this was Crafty, and I'm out. Peace. Help me reach 100,000 subscribers by pressing the subscribe button down below. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button and check out those 2 recommended videos as well. YouTube thinks you'll really like them.